Okay, I was had kind of an unusual background. I'm probably the most famous immunologist from the town of Joyner, Arkansas. It's a town of about 200 people on the Mississippi River, just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. So I was born there quite a while ago. My father was a farmer, a cotton farmer, but died about a month before I was born. And so subsequently, my mother, who was 18 or 19 at the time, she then left me with my grandparents, took my father's VA benefits and went back to college to become a school teacher. So I lived with my grandparents for a few years until I was about 6 in Memphis. And then after that, Mom got remarried to my stepdad, and we then moved to Texas and then on to Virginia. So that's my early history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So talk then about your own early history.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So what would you like me to give you insights about?
Well, where you went to school.
Okay.
And your interests as a young person and so
Okay.
forth.
Well, I started being interested in science, I guess, when my stepdad was teaching high school biology. And I'd go in with him after I'd get out of school, and he'd let me play with the microscopes and do some experiments, and that was when I was in first and second grade. So that's my first introduction to science and my enthusiasm for it.
So your mother and your stepfather were both school teachers?
Yep, they were both school teachers. And we subsequently moved to Richmond, Virginia when I was in elementary school. I guess I was in 5th or 6th grade at that time. My dad was a college teacher at that time, and at a little college called Virginia Polytechnical Institute, RPI, that's now Virginia Commonwealth University, or VCU. My mom was in elementary school for her whole career. I went to high school in Richmond, Virginia, and there I really, it was one teacher, Bonnie Stepka, who turned me on and made me what I am today in science. She her husband was a microbiologist at the medical school in Richmond. So she was an extraordinary 10th grade high school biology teacher. So rather than have us just learn, the parts of plants and things like that, she actually taught us experimental science. So that was where I really had a love of microbiology. And I started college, though, in engineering, because my mom thought I had, good math scores and things like that. It might be a good profession. I got into my first quarter of college in engineering at Virginia Tech, and I really hated it. And I couldn't decide what I was going to do. I couldn't decide whether maybe I wanted to be a writer, or but then I remembered, well, I really liked this microbiology that I'd learned in 10th grade high school biology class. So I said, I'll try that. So that was what really turned me on. The writing part of it, I had a teacher named Thelma Phillips in 8th grade in Richmond, Virginia, Tucker High School in Richmond, Virginia. And everybody hated Miss Phillips because she was tough. She would make you write an essay. It would be, she'd say, write a 3-page essay. She'd correct it, hand it back, and she says, rewrite it now in a page and a half, but don't lose any of the context. So you'd grumble and gripe and you'd do it. Then she'd hand it back graded and say, write it as one paragraph, keeping all the content. So that's what I do today when I'm writing scientific papers. So I have to say, 2 women teachers when I was in 8th grade and 10th grade really, gave me the foundations that I have for why I'm successful today.
And probably that skill is good for grant writing too.
Absolutely. That's what I was doing this morning. I have 9 pages of grant, and I need 6 pages of grant, so Thelma Phillips is helping me condense that down.
To this day.
To this day. Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have one brother, 10 years younger than I am, who he works for immigration department in Washington, D.C. So he's not a scientist.